Hello and welcome to the Aero Army Wyn TT series. This is the first of 6 weeks of racing, a brutal battle against the clock. I'm Matthew Keenan, joined by former Australian representative at the World Championships, Carly Taylor. And Carly, this is 6 weeks of an opportunity for everybody to test themselves in an individual time trial. Sure, it is short, it requires explosive power, but this is a great measure. It's not called the test of truth for no good reason. It really is a measure of where your fitness is at.
Yeah, it's awesome to have a triathlon focused event. It's the first time in Australia we've worked specifically with a triathlon company with Wyn. So, it's really exciting and good to see some short, fun racing, which has a lot of big numbers already signed up for week one. And I'm sure it's going to be a pretty entertaining race tonight.
I know quite a few people who are riding this event, and they're also preparing for events such as the half Ironman and also the full Ironman. And you're looking at an event like this, a 6 kilometre individual time trial, and might ask yourself the question, why? Well, the Tour de France is almost 3,500 kilometres long and often starts with a prologue, which is an individual time trial of roughly this length. So it is a good opportunity to see where you're at.
Yeah, and a lot of the times we do have those longer distance races, the 45-minute, 1 hour races. So it's nice to mix it up and have one for maybe the more explosive type of athletes. I was on Zwift just earlier today and I saw Nathan Elliott, who's one of Australia's best one-day racers, already warming up about 2 hours earlier. So I think he probably needs a longer warm-up, but definitely nice to have some short, sharp racing coming up.
He does like the long ones, Nathan. He's the only guy to win back-to-back Melbourne to Warrnables, which is a race of almost 300 kilometres. So he's only just getting going. We've got both Luke and Beth McKenzie in the race, the people behind Wyn Republic, the clothing company putting on this event. And it's really cool, the name behind the actual company itself, Carly.
Yeah, Wyn Republic actually is named after their daughter, a shortened version of their daughter's name, Wyn. So it's awesome to have that bit of a story behind it. And I think they also have I know they have a sister company after their other daughter, Marlo. So, really cool story behind their name and really love the kit and pretty excited to see it in game as well during this series.
Tonight, it's the first of 6 races. There are points up for grabs for the winners. It's the top 10 get points. It's 10 points for the win, working its way down to 1 point for 10th position. 3 laps of a course that a lot of the people in the race will know well. It's 3 laps around the downtown Dolphin course. But one of the things that people are getting caught a little bit by surprise by as they line up is they're all racing as dinosaurs tonight, because the Wyn Republic kit, that gets unlocked next week after you've ridden the first of the 6 races in this series. Looks like we've got a little bit of a technical problem there with Carly Taylor, bit of the internet freeze. We're just on a minute away before we get started. A-grade men's race will be the first race that we see them get underway. We'll then focus on the women's event and we'll take them through to the finish line. Sure, they're all starting together, but there's no drafting, so this is ridden as an individual time trial. So there is an opportunity, however, to be able to measure your effort against other athletes who are in the field. They make a start, and there's some strong names in this field. If he has made it through to the start line, I did see that Jay Vine has made a start. He dominated the National Road Series on Zwift, and he also went out the winner of the Schramm Send It Series. So he's got good form on this platform. He's been doing lots of training as well, and I'm looking forward to seeing how he performs this evening as the dinosaurs are on their way for the first of 3 laps around this 2-kilometre circuit. It is a short, sharp 6-kilometre test. And amongst the men who are out there, Luke McKenzie recently retired as one of Australia's leading Ironman triathletes. His wife, Beth McKenzie, she'll be riding in the women's race as we're on board with the women's event at the moment, in fact. as we look to see some of the
Yeah.
numbers that are being punched out early, where it's 280 watts with a heart rate up at 171 beats per minute. Carly, there's no easing your way into this race. It's out of the blocks and it is full gas. Hold for as long as you can.
Yeah, with these short, sharp races, it's definitely a really hard start. As we're just on board now with Renee Kiley, she's also a professional triathlete, more known in the longer distances. So this is going to be a really short, sharp effort for her. As you can see, she's just holding around that 300 watts, which is pretty strong effort 1 kilometre into the race.
And in terms of the men's race, just taking a look on Zwift Power, some of the numbers being held up towards the front. And Kieran Lewis, who works for Zwift in at the headquarters at Zwift in Australia, we're looking at close to 7 watts per kilo being produced in the early stages of this 6 kilometre test against the clock, the first of 6 weeks worth of racing. To put some of that into context, Carly, overnight, Egan Bernal, the defending champion of the Tour de France, he won stage in the Pyrenees, 4.5 hours worth of racing. The last 27 minutes, he averaged 6.3 watts per kilo up a 10-kilometre climb. Phenomenal.
Yeah, that is pretty phenomenal. I think Zwift racing, though, it's all about also knowing the course and knowing when to put that effort in and keep that in-game speed. And Kieran Lewis also loves some Zwift racing himself, so I'm sure he's actually going to do quite well tonight.
We're on board with Abraham at the moment, heart rate up at the 172 mark, close to 400 watts. Consistency is all important. He's riding up towards the front in the A-grade men's event. In the women's event, it is Keely Gamble who's at the front of the race at the moment, and she's sitting at around about 381 watts. That's 5.4 watts per kilo. That is moving really quickly with an estimated arrival time of 7 minutes and 40 seconds. Carly, that in any language is quick.
Yeah, that's super fast. I was talking to a lot of the Wyn ambassadors that are actually racing tonight. One of my training mates, actually, Gabrielle Keeley, is racing. She's part of Team Wyn, and she was just wanting to beat 10 minutes. So I'm sure she's going to go way faster than that. But when you're doing 6K and around that, just over that 7-minute mark, that's definitely moving, especially when you're in a dyno suit.
Jay Whelan, is that James Whelan of EF Education First fame that we're on board with at the moment? It looks like it is. James Whelan, who rides with one of the biggest teams in the world, based in Europe. Good to see that James Whelan is still jumping on board and doing a lot of the Zwift races that are based out of Australia. I wonder how he's finding the aerodynamics of the dinosaur this evening.
Yeah, I think those little T-Rex arms are just getting on those little hoods of the Aero bar, but it's awesome just seeing. I think we kind of, I guess, sorry, the T-Rex dino suit isn't normally seen in game, and it's just nice to see it. And I guess there was a bit of a blunder with the jersey, but Zwift making fun of the slight mistake there that went on.
The Wyn Republic jersey, that will be in full effect next week. We're on board now with Jenny Penttinen, who is almost one of my neighbours. She lives in Alphington in the suburbs of Melbourne, so she's in lockdown. And I'd imagine that Jenny, while she's juggling homeschooling with her 3 kids, hopefully she's turning this into a 6-week training block. There she is in the dinosaur with the yellow bike. And as always, she's moving along pretty well, punching out at around about that 4.5 to 5 watts per kilo. And for any athlete, Carly, who's a mother of 3 and has, let's say, a little more experience in life than a lot of people in the event at more than 40 years of age, she is super strong. It's like we've lost Carly at the moment. She's still got a few problems with her internet. Across in the elite men's race, we've got Zach Johnson up at the front. He's on target at the moment for a finishing time of 6 minutes and 52 seconds. He's leading from Jaron Walker. Eddie Houle of South Africa is in 3rd position, followed by Matt Robinson in 4th place. So Zach Johnson, who in the last half a dozen races or so that he's done, his worst result is second or third place. So he is riding really, really well. And he is absolutely flying up towards the red zone. He's at 185 beats per minute, and he is chewing the field up as he's going through riders who are out on course, just doing their own thing. There's no drafting on this circuit. It is 5 kilometers covered already for Zach Johnson, and he's right on target for that time of 6 minutes and 52 seconds. This is an incredible time by Zach Johnson. Pre-race favourite Carly Taylor had penciled him in as the man to beat in the men's race. He continues to produce a huge amount of watts at more than 7 watts per kilo, back down towards the 6. It's hovering at high 6s, low 7s. He's now into the final 600 meters as he starts to sprint towards the line. Zach Johnson, who rides for the Aussie Hump Day crew, who do a brilliant job. If you're always looking for a group to ride with, their Sunday morning ride, it is one of the best you can possibly hop on board with. Johnson closing in on the finish line. This is going to be a blistering time. He will go out surely as the winner of this event with an incredible performance that has him inside the 7-minute mark. As we now move across to Robinson, who is closing in for also one of the top place finishes, that Zach Johnson has flown across the course with a time that has him inside 7 minutes. And that is an indication of the sort of benchmark that is required to be at the top of the leaderboard. Extraordinary. This is Van Burst that we're now on board with in the women's race. And she's right behind Jenny Penton. So she's up towards the front. Jenny Penton is sitting currently, according to Zwift Power, in second position. Gamble is leading, and the gap between those two is roughly 18 seconds. So it's relatively tight, but not quite enough, I don't think, for Penton to be able to close it down and get the win, unless there's an update on Zwift Power. In fact, it looks like it could be up towards the front for Jenny Penton. I'll confirm that as soon as I possibly can with the update from Zwift Power. But Jenny Penton certainly at least in second position with yet another super strong performance by her. So Zach Johnson, well, it was just outside the 7-minute mark, but it was desperately close. He gets the win with 7:08, and that is well and truly quicker than Matt Robinson. And the gap between those two, some 19 seconds. That's a significant gap between Johnson and Robinson. Houle it was in third position. Jaron Walker in fourth place. Drury in fifth position. Magnus Jarman from Sweden. Good to see the Swedes out on the course in sixth position. Paul Speed, he finds himself in seventh spot. Simon Collard, it was in eighth position. Campe from the Aero team in ninth position, and Andrew Martin rounding out the top 10. So from second then down to 10th place, it was relatively tight, but quite the gap between Johnson and Robinson as a pre-race favourite really did dominate with a time of 7 minutes and 8 seconds.
Yeah, that was a super strong ride by Zach.
Well, here are the results for the women's race, Carly, and it is Keely Gamble who does get the win, 16 seconds in front of Jenny Penton, and it was then Gabriella Keely in third position. Do you see any surprises in that top 10? Looks like we've lost Carly Taylor once again.
Sorry, I'm here.
Fran,
clearly,
she's
my
back.
internet is not liking me.
So any surprises for you, Carly, inside that top 10 for the women's race?
Actually, I just see one of my good friends, Gabrielle Kiley, in third position there. Jenny Penton had an awesome ride, and she is in a regular on Zwift, but also in Team Aero, which is one of the strongest indoor racing teams. So that's not really a bit of a surprise. And Fran Bamburst as well is part of the Aussie Hump Day ladies in fourth. So there is a lot of regular ladies that race a lot of the series that I guess use their knowledge of the course to yeah, get a good result today. But yeah, definitely a bit of a fan with my friend Gabby in third that I have to do a shout out for.
Of course, you've got to do a shout out. You're allowed to be a little bit biased, particularly under this sort of format. The time was quick for Keely Gamble, though 7 minutes and 57 seconds. That is an impressive performance on any platform.
Yeah, that is super fast and not much slower as well than the guys in the top 10 too. So a pretty impressive time. And yeah, awesome seeing a few of the triathletes, pro triathletes with Renee Kiley in 10th as well. Kim Hurst is another popular one that races a lot on Zwift in 8th. And yeah, a lot of Aussies up there representing.
And it's important to remember, Carly Taylor, that this isn't just about the elites racing as we look at the top 10. The B, C, and the D grade riders as well. Matt Sullivan taking out the B grade event. And with a time of 7 minutes and 51 seconds, I'm not sure that Matt Sullivan's going to be staying in B grade for too much longer. That is quick.
Yeah, that is a really fast time and just awesome seeing a lot of these other grades doing such impressive performances as well. A lot of the time we look at A grade and forget that, well, I know myself, I'm not normally in A grade, so it's nice to see these other races. And we had about 1,000 riders sign up tonight. So there's so many riders in there doing great performances, PBs, and that's what this whole series is about. Just trying to do your
I had the opportunity on Tuesday morning to ride with Luke McKenzie and Beth McKenzie as we look at Mark Padman taking out the C grade event, again with a solid time of 8 minutes and 29 seconds, ahead of S Trucking and Scott Nielsen. It was in third position. And Luke's key message around this event wasn't specifically to the elites. In fact, it was quite the opposite. It was to everybody participating about making the most of the 6 weeks of this series and participating each week and just trying to go that little bit better in each week of the Aero Army Wyn TT series. So it was Mark Padman taking out the win in the C grade race. And then it was Trucking in second position by Nielsen, then in third place. So each of these athletes, they now get an opportunity to assess how they went, take a look at their power numbers. And good to see the Japanese riders well represented in the D grade race. Yuichi Akita taking out the win in D grade with a time of 8 minutes and 33 seconds, 15 seconds to the better of his compatriot. Tashi Ando was in second position, and then Stijn de Vrient in third place. A good Dutch or Belgium name for an Australian flag in third position. Next week, another opportunity for the riders to all test themselves, Carly. It's the Seaside Sprint, but it's just one lap, and it's 3 kilometres longer than this week. It's 9 kilometres next week. In the men's race, I still see Zach Johnson once again next week as the man to beat. He's got this series off to a perfect start for him.
Yeah, well, looking through his Zwift power, I think in the last 14 races he has done, he's only finished off the podium once. So he definitely he knows how to race on Zwift, and he started it off on a good note with that win. And yeah, another short, sharp race to next week and another opportunity to just go for a PR and have fun.
And for Keely Gamble in the women's race, she had around about, I think it was a 16-second advantage for memory over Jenny Pettinen. I wonder if the slightly longer race, and it's not particularly long at just 9 kilometres, I wonder which one of those athletes it will favour, whether it will favour the slightly older Pettinen on that course next Tuesday.
Yeah, I think it's also really important with the athletes warm up as well. When it's such a short race, you really have to be quite warmed up at the start line, and maybe some athletes might align it, get it a bit more right and spot on and practice during the week of what really works for them. And yeah, go faster next week.
Well, I've enjoyed the first week, Carly. Next week, it's an opportunity for everybody to regroup, get out of the dinosaur suit and into the Wyn Republic kit, which will be on board for next week for race number 2 in the Aero Army Wyn TT series. It's 6 races. As we've mentioned a couple of times, just keep trying to boost the numbers. You were on the start list, though, Carly. You're going to be you joining me in commentary next week once again?
I think you were on the start list as well, Matt Keenan. So maybe we can just roll a couple of laps now and get the slowest time.
That I can definitely do. Thanks for joining me, Carly. Congratulations to everybody who started, made it through to the finish. We look forward to seeing you next week. Might even see you out there on Zwift at some stage before then. Until next Tuesday for race number 2 in the Aero Army Wyn TT series, ride on.